Most of us know that it's a really important leadership trait to be authentic and vulnerable. Some of us like that news better than others. But one of the things that's important to consider when you're communicating with your team, especially on a macro level or from the senior leadership team, is to try and figure out what level of vulnerability is most appropriate. And I would tell you that it's important to keep some level of vulnerability and not just in a way that feels like that they're reading something that could have come from another company, or it could have come from not the person that they're walking the halls with on a day-to-day basis. They want to be able to feel and experience you and your personality a little bit. Different kinds of communication will have different levels of vulnerability, and I would say the harder ones to share are often a time for you to flex the muscle a little bit and to share what you're feeling and what you're experiencing maybe as you're going through this change. And I think that, that's a key piece to just sit back and consider. So, put this out in front of you and say, I need to share this message. How am I feeling about that message? Is it appropriate for me to share how I'm feeling about that message? And what might people do if they were hearing some of these pieces that are going on in my mind? So I think that you can, overshare and tell people all sorts of different things that they don't necessarily need to know. And if they hear a message that is hard and they hear you really wrestling with it openly, they might be nervous, which would not be your intent. So I think that's key to think through, okay, what is the message? How do I feel? What would it look like if I was to share some of those feelings with folks? And then what would be the outcome of that? So what you're after is an outcome that says people get it, right? They understand it a little bit deeper. They're connected more to you in the way you think about the organization, that you're sharing, they believe that you're sharing openly and honestly. Now, one little tidbit too is I highly recommend not saying, I want to be vulnerable here, I want to be authentic here, because they're really buzzwords. And I think a lot of times people will judge what follows that to determine if it feels like it's vulnerable enough in their perception or if it's authentic enough in their perception. A lot of times I'll hear employees say, well, they keep saying they want to be authentic, or they keep saying they're being transparent, but I don't feel that. And so that just creates an opportunity, I think, for people to have a misunderstanding in communication with your intent. So I do think that it's more about you assessing that and showing up in that way when and what level is appropriate, more than kind of calling it out and sharing across the masses what you're about to do. Just get in there and do it. Share with them and talk through some different things as it's appropriate for them to hear, as well as just kind of pushing your edge a little bit, right? Thinking through like, wow, I'm not sure if I want to share this, but I think it would be a good outcome if I did. That's a really great scenario for you to push a little bit and make sure that you're sharing a little bit more than you might have originally intended.